a great player? Maybe. Okay, but like, is he Steve
Mark
Nash?
Jackson into this?
Yeah.
Oh,
you say he's a great passer ever. Mark Jackson's a better passer than he is.
Just enjoy what you're seeing right there.
I am.
All right, let's see a little bit more of it. Rajon Rondo finds a cut in LeBron.
Wait, Rondo greatest passer ever.
Oh, well, that's an easy pass. And Rondo is a great passer, by the way. At this point, it's the only thing he does at a high level, aside from somehow get a bunch of minutes.
He's LeBron's guy. Remember he went to a college game with him last year, Virginia Duke? Like, that's so smart.
Oh, you think that's how he's getting the minutes?
Yes.
He's just cozying up to LeBron?
LeBron's guy.
You and Doc Rivers think LeBron just rules the puppet master.
Pacers side of it, Aaron Holiday giving it up to Domantas Sabonis for the dunk over Avery Bradley.
Domas Sabonis. Dad could have been in the conversation of greatest of all time had he not torn the Achilles tendon.
Greatest passers or just player?
He was a great passer.
Great passer, Arvidas.
Great passer.
Agreed. Listen, Sabonis played well in the playoff series a couple years ago against LeBron's Cavs. He's a good player. The Pacers did really well in that Paul George trade.
Yeah, Kevin Pritchard. That's an unbelievable trade that they made.
Suns and Clippers, Kelly Oubre punches a vicious poster dunk over Paul George.
Oubre was in the highlights last year, so Oubre, Doug's big on the amateur basketball circuit. Oubre played against my son in Houston and was clearly a pro as a junior in high school. Like, there was no doubt about it. Wasn't great at Kansas. Now on his second team, hell of an athlete, man. And why is Patrick Beverly trying to guard him in the post?
That's the problem. Where are you going to hide Patrick Beverly? Suns so much improved because of Ricky Rubio.
Oh, Rubio take.
Huh?
I like it.
I like Ricky Rubio.
I would say coaching is a big part of it as well, but yeah, Rubio, I like it.
Let's talk some football now. Must-watch TV Sunday on Fox. Cowboys and Eagles from Philadelphia. At this time yesterday, the Cowboys were favored by 2.5. Our guys at Fox Bet now have the boys favored by 3 points on the road. Nick, you surprised the Cowboys are road favorites over the Eagles Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I shouldn't be surprised. I am surprised. I think the line's wrong. I think that we are seeing...
You tell that line.
I think we are seeing exactly what happened with the Cowboys-Rams point spread from last week, where the Cowboys open as favorites because they're at home, and then it moves drastically in the Rams' favor because of recency bias. Because the Rams had all of a sudden looked competent. The Cowboys obviously hadn't played well as of late. So instead of looking holistically at the season...
They looked incredible.
Well, no, this was prior to last week. You looked at instead of looking at it holistically on the season going into Cowboys-Rams, which these are two teams that both underachieved. They've been about equals. The Cowboys are at home. It was, well, the Cowboys have looked terrible. The Rams have looked great, so the Rams became favorites. This is a reaction to the Cowboys finally being the team so many people hoped they would be all year long, but the team they have not been for any extended stretch. So, yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I think the Eagles will win. I think the Eagles are at least as good as the Cowboys, and the game is at home. Doug, you disagree?
Well, look, do I think that we all overreact to the Dallas Cowboys, good and bad? Yeah, I agree with that part. But if anybody out there can name who Carson Wentz is throwing to, congratulations, right? Like, you and I know Greg Ward because Houston, right? He was wide receiver, then a quarterback, then a wide receiver, and he caught the game winner. But they needed a guy who had, I think, survived 6 different roster moves to catch the game winner in D.C. against Dwayne Haskins, a terrible Redskin team. They have been besieged by injuries. And even before they were at this point in the season, the last time these two teams met, the Cowboys ran over them. Cowboys are healthier than they've been. I just think this is a mismatch based upon the health around Carson Wentz, the health of that defense, which is not nearly what it used to be, and the fact that the Cowboys did look good, did change some things up, and they just have better personnel.
I guess my argument would be, who was Josh Allen throwing to when the Bills whooped the Cowboys on Thanksgiving? Mitch Trubisky.
But the defense dominated that game. Bills' defense is legit, right?
Bills' defense is legit, and the Bears' defense is legit, agreed. But both those teams ran up 20-plus consecutive points on this Cowboys defense, despite having mediocre offenses. And with the Eagles, they obviously, even if Carson Wentz having a down year, have a better quarterback than either of those two previous teams. I believe the Eagles have a better quarterback than the Rams do, because I think Jared Goff the league has figured him out, and I think Jared Goff is about to become a bit of an anchor around the Rams' neck. And Carson Wentz, to his credit,
along with Todd Gurley,
a bunch of issues for the Rams. And Carson Wentz, to his credit, after there being so many questions about what type of leader he is, about where his standing is in the locker room, in 2 straight weeks where the team has not played well, at the end of the games, against bad opponents, no doubt, he has led game-winning touchdown drives, which I think does help his standing in the locker room.
No question. If you go back and watch the Falcons game, they had a drop where they win the game. They play the Patriots. He throws an absolute...
Aguilar has it to
Aguilar
tie.
dropped it against the Falcons, too.
Yep.
Same guy. Nelson Aguilar dropped 3 balls that would have completely changed their season and the complexion of the NFC playoffs. And so I'm with you. I think Carson Wentz is getting an undue amount of criticism. I just don't think they have the guy. They had so many...
They're too banged up.
Yeah, to play the Cowboys. And the Cowboys, is their coaching thing a mess? And is Jerry doing press conferences in the locker room a mess? Absolutely. But they got dudes. They absolutely have dudes, and they're finally healthy at linebacker, and they changed some things up defensively. I just think this is a personnel mismatch.
How much is on the line this weekend for both teams? There's a division title. There's Garrett's job safety. There's Wentz's defense of that contract. It just feels like for 2 teams out of a really bad division to have such a big game that there's a lot on the line for this
because
game.
the division's so bad, that's why 2 teams that are both 7-7 can be playing in the biggest game of the weekend as far as playoff probability. The Cowboys win and they're in. The Eagles win, and I would say they're like 90-some% to get in because they then just have to avoid falling all over themselves in the final game of the year against the New York Giants, which they're not. I can't imagine they are going to do after the Giants threw a scare into them recently. And so, but it's more than just that. I think Jason Garrett's fired. I think that there is nothing he can do short of making the Super Bowl, which they will not do, to save his job. But on the flip side for Carson Wentz, even if the winner of this division's one and done in the playoffs, like I think they're going to be, Doug, I think it's important for Carson Wentz to play in a playoff game. I think if the Eagles are going to get back to the standing they had going into this season, being back to being a contender in the NFC, they need their quarterback, when they are a good team, when they are a healthier team, to have played in a playoff game before. He is yet to do that. So just winning the division and having that experience against Seattle or San Francisco at home, I think would be very good.
Why? To get the monkey off his back?
To get the experience. It's just a different environment in the postseason.
It's just that everything is ramped up. But we are bearing the lead in terms of who this game is most important to. Take Antonio Brown out, and maybe take Melvin Gordon out. Outside of those 2, no one has lost more money this season than Dak Prescott after early in the year. Early East, they come out and they're playing the 2 worst teams in the NFL, and he looks like Johnny Unitas matched up with John Elway and Dan Marino, right? He's dropping dimes, and the Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl, and now they're 7-7. And he's not catching a ton of the blame. Don't get me wrong. No one's coming in going, hey, Dak stinks. But are you going to give this guy $40 million, $35 million a year, especially with that Mahomes deal? Or are you going to franchise tag him? And it's pretty hard to sign up for a long-term contract if your team misses out in the playoffs. And we're going to make our determination on, at fair or unfair, who Dak Prescott is, how he plays on the road against the Eagles in week 16. Right? Yep. If they don't make the playoffs, I disagree with you on the Garrett thing. I think he's very likely to be fired. But I also think we need to take a breath and see how this thing plays out, because crazier things have happened than the Cowboys get to the NFC Championship game, close game. They lose because their kicker stinks. Their kicking game has been awful.
They're not going to get to the NFC Championship.
I don't think it will either, okay? But we've seen Eli Manning lead teams with a great pass rush and a 500 or slightly above 500 team to 3 straight road wins and to a Super Bowl and beat the Patriots, and he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. We've seen it happen before.
We can pull on the biggest anomalies in sports history and say there could be another anomaly. So you're right, I can't put it at 0%, but I can put it damn close. On the Dak stuff, I think analytically you are correct. I think logically you're correct. Listen, Dak all of a sudden, he's 12th in the league in quarterback rating. He has thrown the 10th most interceptions in football. All of a sudden, his amazing MVP candidate year has turned into, Dak's played pretty well this year. It's gone down to that. Right. Where I disagree with you is he's getting paid regardless.
I think he's going to
get overpaid regardless. It's not